Hi there, and welcome to the first of a three-part video series. And thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Richard van Ommen. I'm Europe's leading systemization expert for UK property investments. So over this series, we're going to be discussing a little bit more about property investing, why you want to be investing, some of the challenges you're likely to be facing, and how to be able to get over some of those challenges. I want to try and make sure that this is an engaging and enjoyable series of videos for you to be listening to. So just to give you some front line as to who I am and why you should be listening and what I've actually achieved, which will enable you to be able to achieve what you'd like to achieve. Over the past few years, myself and the rest of the directors of the Katana Group, we've built up a multi-million pound portfolio with in excess of 6 figures cash flow, which once we close out on existing deals, as of right now, this moment, we should be sitting at a portfolio of give or take around £4.5 million, which we've generated in around 2.5 years. So not too bad. Now, on top of that, we've actually also managed to put together 8 different businesses that between those businesses that we've put together in the last 2 years will generate in excess of 2.5 million's worth of turnover per year or revenue per year. Now, we're expecting that to at least double next year, and of course, business is going very, very well because we're using the fundamental systems that I'm going to be teaching you in this short video series. So the first thing I would like to go over within this video series will be all based around why property investing is so powerful and why you want to be getting involved in property as opposed to having money in the bank or in some other asset class. The second series that I would like to be, or the second video that we're going to be shooting, I would like to be talking to you a little bit more about some of the challenges that most property investors face and some of the ways in which you can get around them. And then the third part of the video series, I would actually like to be talking to you a little bit more about the 2 biggest challenges that we face, which is being able to raise enough money and be able to find enough deals. And together, I would like you to, by the end of this video series, understand exactly how you can get started in property, what you need to do, and how to get things moving quite quickly. Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk a little bit more about why property investing is so powerful. So ask yourself quickly, if you have any money in the bank, or if you have ever had money back in the bank, or if you know anybody with money in the bank, what kind of interest rate are you currently earning? Now, if you look at that, you'll notice that the interest rate that you're currently earning is 0. Not really even worth mentioning. Okay, it's extremely, extremely low. Now, with that being said, what is the current rate of inflation as it currently stands according to the government guidelines? Now, according to the government at this day, it is give or take around 3 to 3.5% through my last bit of research. Now, what that technically means is for your money in the bank, you're actually losing money every single day. So in essence, every year, if you were to draw out 2 to 3% of your money, set it on fire and get some warmth from it, at least you're going to get some value, because right now the bank is busy stealing your money. I hope that makes sense. Now, secondly, let's take a look at why property is so good. Now, if you look inherently within the property market, since records began, property prices have doubled every 8 to 10 years. Now, you might not be 100% convinced in that, but if you look at the property cycle, so look on the Office of National Statistics, the market price, you will have a long sort of like a down followed by a long low, and then it will go into a very sharp spike. Now, if you take a look, the long low, property prices won't be moving very much, but the very sharp spike will be over a very short space of time, and the property prices will go up significantly within that period of time. Now, if you look at how we've done it in the past, it's consistently gone up and up and up. Realistically, if you take a look at where we're at within the marketplace as of today, this is in 2018, coming up to the end of 2018. Obviously, things are going to be progressing and moving depending on when you're watching this video. I'm starting to see a lot more investors coming into the property market, but they're not building more houses. There's not more houses coming up for renovation, which means there is not enough supply to keep up with the constantly growing demand, which means there's only one thing happening to prices, and that is prices are currently skyrocketing and booming. So I personally expect over the next 2 to 3 years, we see a very large spike in house prices. After which time I expect a recession, which is absolutely fine, providing you're buying right. You can essentially buy recession-proof. Okay, so for me, realistically, there's a question as to when you'd like to be investing in property. Would it be right at the top of the market, just before you have the fall off the cliff, the recession? it's at the bottom of the market where you've got this very long period of waiting before you actually seem to get any growth, or whether it's just as you're starting to go up the steep up curve before you see all the growth. Now, the obvious answer is you'd want to be doing C, which is just before the big up curve where you see the most growth within the value of the property. And in my opinion, that is as of right now. Now, of course, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't guarantee it, but this is how I see things just looking at the figures as it currently stands. So realistically, that tells me very simply that if the house prices double every 8 to 10 years, that means property values increase by value roughly 10% a year on average, okay? With that being said, if you're earning next to nothing in the bank, but you'd be earning 10% just by having your money parked in a house, the answer is very simple. You want to have your money invested in property. But you don't just want to be buying it based on growth, you also want to be buying it based on income. So with that being said, I'd like to let you know now that I am a tree hugger. And I don't mean tree hugger in the term that immediately springs to your mind of I love to hug trees. I'm a tree hugger primarily because I akin my houses to trees. So let me explain where I get this theory from. So if you think of a seed, when you plant a seed in the ground, what happens to the seed? Of course, well, it grows. And in the same breath, if you were to plant your money into a house, what happens to the value of your money? Well, of course, the value of your money equally grows. So for me, that's a pretty easy one to relate. But then let's take it to another level. What can you get from trees that will give you sustenance that you can eat? And the obvious answer is fruit. Now, of course, some people will say, no, you only get fruit from Tesco's, and I can assure you that's not true. It comes from trees. So, if you can get sustenance from trees, if you have enough trees, is it fair to say that therefore you'd be able to give yourself enough food through those trees to then never have to worry about buying food again? Of course, the answer is yes. You'd then get enough sustenance from your trees. Now, in the same way, in a rental property, somebody will be paying you rent in return for them living in the house. And providing your rent exceeds all of your other expenses, then what that means is you will have an income at the back end. You will have what we call a cash flow, which is your rent minus expenses equals cash flow. Now, if you use that cash flow to give yourself sustenance, essentially what you're doing is you're doing the same as a tree. Now, for me, I am planting a forest. This is what I'd like to do. And to be honest, I would like to be able to help you to plant a forest too. Hopefully now you're starting to understand a little bit why I say I'm a tree hugger. And perhaps, just perhaps, you might also be converting to being a tree hugger too. So, of course, property is therefore extremely powerful. And it grows in value, and it can also give you an income for the rest of your life. So that kind of brings us to the close of the very first video, just trying to understand a little bit about why property investing is so powerful. So I'm going to be shooting another video shortly and equally posting it out. Please feel free to comment down below or like the video and leave any feedback you have. I'm always open to hearing, and I'm always open to having a conversation. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. I'm sure you're going to have a great time where we'll be talking a little bit more about the biggest challenges of property investors and how to be able to overcome some of those. All right, have a good one. Thank you very much.